Hey, hi, hello creatives, welcome back or to my channel. My name is Lindsay and today we are doing a collage with me and we are going into my scrap bin. So I'm just kind of going through what I have in my scrap bin and I want to pull out a bunch of stuff that I want to use or might use, maybe I won't use, who knows. But this scrap bin, I actually organized it after I did this spread because there's a lot of like scrapbook paper stuff in here. There's a lot of like random pictures and then a bunch of like clippings from magazines. So actually I went through this and separated it into 3 different piles. I pulled out all of the magazine stuff and actually used this bin now for only magazine stuff. And I separated my scrapbook paper, scraps off to the side, as well as like junk journal stuff of like things that I've gotten from different packaging and that sort of thing, and I've separated that. So I went through this scrap bin for this spread and I decided to pull out a lot of like landscapes or like background stuff, like stuff that had landscapes, I guess, is the background. So what I started to kind of do is what I saw is that I had a lot of blue, some greens, and then browns. So I kind of took what each of these photos were of and to kind of group them by photo or group them by colors so that like, the top is the sky, the middle is like greenery and flowers and browns. And I actually got some inspiration for this spread from when I was watching the first season of Criminal Minds, and actually in one of the episodes where I think her name's Lila in the show, but anyways, the character's played by Amber Heard, and it's when there was a chick that was stalking her that was like a friend from her from her college. Anyways, there's one picture in the episode that actually is all photos of the celebrity, the character, and they're all kind of sliced up and like mended together to create obviously a collage, but they're all in strips. And some are upside down, some are right side up, that sort of thing. So this is kind of what I had inspiration for to do this spread. I originally wanted to do this with like faces, but I wanted them to be like an entire page long so that I could honestly just cut the strips and add them onto the paper that would take up the full size. But because I was obviously using scraps, it made this part a little bit more difficult. So again, the top part is where I've kind of put blue and then greens in the middle, and then greens and browns kind of in the middle and stuff. So this one, it was kind of me piecing together all of these different like landscapes and background photos to create my own background. And I know that, so actually the only thing that's not a magazine in this spread that I'm using for today is that photo that's in the left corner that's of like the beach. I haven't quite used it yet, but it's like the main focal point of the spread when I'm done. But that beach photo is actually from like when you buy a picture frame and there's either a saying or like a random person or some sort of landscape in the picture frame when you purchase it. So I actually took them out and I keep them. So in a couple of others that I have, they're actually just quotes, but this one obviously is like of a beach. So I, when I saw that when I was going through my scrap bin, it was kind of like, oh, okay, I can definitely use this as, what I want to do. But again, the pictures that I was pulling out, they weren't full length. So again, I had to kind of piece it all together. So it's a little tedious. And it took me about an hour to do this spread, but it was still a lot of fun because it's like a little puzzle of trying to use all of these pictures and use all of these backgrounds to form one. And yeah, it was definitely a pretty interesting puzzle to try and, because again, I've mentioned in previous videos, I love to fill a page. And I think it's because right now in this journal, it's a line journal, and I don't necessarily want to use a line journal for my like art journaling, but I don't want to waste journals because I obviously spent money and purchased it, and I want to use my stash. I don't need to purchase any new ones just yet because I have like 4 more of these journals that I haven't quite used yet. So yeah, like I want to use what I have, and if it's not exactly what I had, what I would want to use now, like I started this journal honestly back in 2020. So it's still lasted me, 3 years, almost going on 3 years. And so, it is what it is. I obviously, I don't collage or journal, random spreads all that often. So, because I do go from, many different hobbies back and forth. So the time to try and find, a lot of time to make different journal spreads and stuff, I'd want to. But again, I go between hobbies. And right now I'm really into reading, and there's a book that I'm reading that I'm absolutely loving. But anyways, again, it's not the purpose of this video, but it's, keeping it real on what I'm into right now and, what I'm using this journal for and the stuff that I put in this journal. I don't have too many pages left, but still quite a few. Probably I'll finish it maybe by the end of 2023, depending on how often I'm able to, or I make time to, not able to, but make time to journal in this. And actually I recorded this, today is February 17th, and I recorded this, I think 2 days ago. And I was dabbling into wine on a weekday, no judgment. But I enjoy drinking wine, and a glass or 2 here and there is no big deal. So again, I'm just kind of chopping them up into, I'd say about 2 centimeters is how big they are, maybe 1.5 centimeters. I wasn't too, precise on it. As you can see in the top right-hand side of the page, you can see that there's, paper showing through the blue. And at first I didn't want that, but I think it was going to be too impossible not to have that, because it's just, again, because I'm piecing it all together and it's not one big strip from top to bottom of the page, that I'm actually, piecing it together. So as you see, there's still a pretty big blank space in the middle, and actually it stays that way for a little bit. And then I find a picture that kind of fits perfectly in the side, in like right in between there. But I even, as I'm like cutting these out, and if there's more pieces that go on to, like I will, what am I trying to say here? So on the bottom left there, right before I put down that first green piece, actually I overlapped. There we go. I overlapped, the brown with like the flowery side, because I still want to form it all together. And I really liked what I did up in the top here with this, like I didn't eliminate this one blue page just because there was a circle cut out of it. So when I kind of, glued them in between the spaces there, it's cool that it makes like this now bigger circle. I was going to draw something inside, but I opted not to draw anything inside because I just wanted to keep that little bit of character there of, just something that kind of stands out. So I really like how that looked. But see, again, so that last blue one that I put in there, I actually overlapped with the darker blue that's already there, just to kind of make it look complete and basically use the entire thing. So as you see, this green one that I just cut, there's a lot of it, and it worked out perfectly because on the top there's a pretty big space. I'm very, like, not surprised, but like I'm very impressed with the fact that I basically took out just enough of background photos to cover this whole page, which I did have to go back in once to get something that was just a little bit longer, but for the most part I was able to take out as much as I needed right from the beginning. And if you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that I'm a bigger fan of a glue stick as opposed to the like the tape runners, just because the tape runners are so expensive. And I love a glue stick. And again, I've mentioned before that I really enjoy when the full piece of paper is completely glued down and, you know, there's not like different edges that are kind of popping up. But anyways, because of how much glue and because the size of these papers are not always the thickness of the glue, the ickiness and the sticking, like that, it was just so, my fingers, and they were so like clumpy and sticky, and yeah, not fun, especially in a household where, you know, we have a lot of animals. So hair is not an unfamiliar thing in our house, and it's not fun when it kind of gets attached to you as you're dealing with all of this glue. But anyways, so again, so that paper that I just put down there, that, you know, that beach paper, that's the one that I was talking about that came out of a picture frame. And I just did a little closing of the journal there just because I glued stuff in like right up to the edge in the middle of the book, and sometimes it becomes a pain in the ass when closing. And I actually had to leave this one out to dry with my journal still open because, again, like the glue, there was just so much glue on the page that I couldn't close it right away. Otherwise it would have been glued shut. So this, I noticed that I didn't really have anything for the middle, and I did take this eye out earlier, and I'm very happy that I did because I'm cutting out the color of the person's eye. And then I'm gonna cut out the pupil as well. And then I'm gonna use the, like the magazine writing, I guess, of like, yeah, I'm gonna use that as the background of the person's eye. And then when I cut this out, I've done in the past where I kind of cut it out and then I move it off to the side to be a shadow. But because I already stuck it down and glued it there, I couldn't really move it after the fact. So I just kind of cut it out myself. And, you know, just went kind of around the eye a little bit so that the shadow is to the left and at the bottom. And then I glued in the pupil, and here's my eye. And I honestly was going to leave the eye just on top without cutting and doing the slivers stuff that I've done, you know, with the others. But I figured, I'm like, okay, I might as well keep it all the same and keep this, you know, in the same kind of style that I wanted to do. So again, I cut the person's eye, and I glue it in between these spaces here so that it basically fits in like perfectly. As I said, like it worked out pretty great to cover the full page. But on the left side, once you see that I've, you know, put these sides down, on the left side, there is a little bit of free space that, you know, this eye doesn't quite cover, in this space and this space. So I went back in, and see, this brown piece of paper is what I use to put underneath so that it covers the full brown page, or the full background, the full like page of the journal itself. So I really enjoyed this page. And I know because although it was tedious, it seemed kind of mindless to me to still do, because it's just kind of cutting the pieces in. Like there wasn't, I don't know. It was just a very fun, creative little exercise to do this, and I really like how it turned out. I do go in and add in some doodles. Not much, but still something to kind of add some funk to it, because it seemed kind of bland with no doodles. And I didn't put a quote on this page because I didn't really think that it, you know, there was an obvious choice to put it there. And oh yeah, I did pull out these white strips from, you know, excess of cutting around some of the pictures to just kind of put a couple pieces going in the opposite direction, just to, you know, I wanted to. I thought it looked good, and then it just kind of, you know, makes it pop a little bit more. And then yeah, I go in with these little bits of doodles and I call it a day, because again, I didn't put a quote on this page just because I didn't see an obvious spot to put it, I guess. I mean, I guess I could have put it along the white strips, but I didn't want to. I thought that it was enough without any quotes, and I just kind of, again, went in and did some doodling, and then I called this a day. But yeah, I really like this page. I really like this page, and I hope that if you're interested in doing collage art, you just, you know, cut out some paper and start doing it, because it's so much fun. But if you made it this far, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you like, comment, share, subscribe, do all of the things. It means so much to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.